without further ado, all the settings will be listed out below, so you don't have to like freeze frame and memorize what I'm going through right now. But for the most part, here are our settings. Again, this is 2560 by 1440, indicated here. We are on a 5070 GPU, and that is the target resolution, I feel, for this particular GPU. So what we've got here is a fully custom set. The texture pool size is high. Ignore the warnings. It's going to yell at us a lot, but just trust me on this. I feel like this is a pretty good setting. Texture pool size is high, so that's going to give us a little bit better looking textures and allow them to load in a little faster. Texture quality is medium. Honestly, medium and high look really good, so medium is fine. The decal rendering distance, so decals are like flat objects that think like, not in this particular title, but like graffiti on a wall would be a decal. So it will render those sooner than later in the distance. So that's a setting that doesn't have a huge impact, so we're just gonna leave that on high. Reflection quality, high is fine. Water quality is high. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Everything else, hair quality, it's pretty self-explanatory. This texture, I can't ever say that word. What it does is it renders the textures depending on the angle. So if you're viewing straight down at a texture, obviously it's going to look more flat. But as you drop down an angle, you want to see a little bit of texture that's bumpy, or kind of protrudes into 3D space a little bit more. This is going to help that. Not a huge thing, but high seems to be where this GPU likes it to be in this particular scene of this particular game. So for what it's worth, there you go. All right, full ray tracing, all lights. Everything maxed out on ray tracing. That is the point of this video, is to explore what path tracing, fully blown out, all the bells and whistles on your lighting can do. Can you do it? That's kind of the point of this video. So vegetation animation, that's just not really relevant to this particular test, but for whatever it's worth, it's set to medium. Upscaling, of course we're going to use upscaling, we have to. DLSS performance looks extremely good with ray reconstruction turned on. Right now I'm going to turn off DLSS frame generation, because if you note, our VRAM allocation is 11.1-ish. We're using 10.1-ish, so it's setting aside 11, but it's only needing 10 so that it doesn't bump up against it. So in that particular scenario, we're good. Everything else, not really relevant, so we're just going to go ahead and back out and go into the game. Alright, so with everything in place that we went through in the beginning of the video, we've got 44, 45-ish FPS. We're bumping up right on our VRAM limit. The allocated VRAM is dangerously close to 12. However, right now, for a single player game like this is playable, in my opinion. I don't think you necessarily have got to have 60 FPS to have an enjoyable experience. But let's see what it takes to get up to 60 and what we have to turn on and off. This game is very finicky when you change settings. It likes to want you to restart a lot and just do kind of things that are like not really great for on the fly testing like we're trying to do here. So for everything, for what it's worth, we are on quality. So if we drop it down to balanced, that will bump us up. So not quite 60, but going in the right direction. And under all of my other testing that I've done, performance seemed to be what gave us the 60 FPS. Now we're going to be out of VRAM, so we're not going to be able to do anything with frame generation necessarily. It will work a little bit, but again, you don't have much VRAM left to really play with, so it's not exactly going to be 2x. It's going to be more like 0.5x, or 1.5x rather. So you're at a consistent 60 here on performance DLSS with full path tracing, mind you. So this is really pushing the, the right buttons to get the best visual quality. For a game like this that is, to be fair, as one commenter has pointed out, it isn't the most optimized. And an update did come out today. It didn't seem to really change anything as far as like what the settings that I was applying were doing. So let's just go into here and kick on that 2x. And it will do something. So we're comfortably at 60. I wouldn't say comfortably above it, but we're comfortably at it. So let's go over here, and we're on Performance DLSS, and let's kick on 2x, and everything up here, again, full ray tracing, all lights, ray trace reflections, and ray trace indirect illumination, like off-screen stuff. All right, so let's resume game, and let's see if it crashes. I hope it doesn't crash. Come on. Come on. Are we gonna crash? Yeah, I think so. I think we've crashed, folks. Yeah, I'm not getting... Oh, resume game. There we go. Okay, we're back. It had a moment there. Let's see, did it... It probably applied some settings that were... It probably just completely... Okay, we're all good there. 2x. Let's just turn that off. It looks like it's using VRAM that it doesn't really want to use. So we're at the 60 again. And this will be a little cutscene. It's kind of loud, so I'm just not going to talk during it. And these are locked to 60. Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard me just there, but these are scenes that are locked to 60. They're rendered in the game, so they're real-time, they're not cutscenes, traditional cutscenes that are pre-rendered. These are directly rendered in real time, but they are locked to 60. So after this, it's going to go up a little bit. There it goes. All right. So 60.
Relax.
There's our water. We didn't totally turn down the water. So it looks half decent still. Still looks like water, so that's good. Alright, so let's get here and just look around a little bit, load in some trees, vegetation. It's going to go up when we look at the sky. There's not much to render up there. So over here, let's see if we don't freeze up with our 2x. Because 2x is what's going to get us to stay above that... to stay above that 60. But again, in a title like this, I don't think you necessarily need it that much. You can go to ultra performance, but it does make it kind of blurry. That's, your individual choice there. Frame gen, okay, kick that on. All right, let's see what we do. It might not do a whole lot because again, we are slapped out of VRAM. Like there just ain't none there. So we're at 62, 65. I would personally turn it off because it's just eating VRAM that it doesn't really do anything with at the moment. So these are kind of the most optimized settings that I have been able to find. Now you could drop that down. It makes you restart the game. And then that 2x might do a little bit more because you're freeing up some of that VRAM. So yeah, it gave us, it's up in the 90s now. So you could drop your texture pool size down and kick that frame gen on. Now some of these further textures aren't loading in quite yet. They're still kind of, I mean they're fine, but they're not like as sharp. I'm also on a 4K screen rendering at 1440, so it is a tiny bit blurrier than normal. If you weren't, if you're on a native 1440, you might do a little better, but this is kind of what you can expect on this card. You really have to pick and choose what features you want. So if you're willing to give up a little bit of texture, you'll have enough VRAM to run the 2x. So you will get a lot more frames that way. But if not, if you just don't care about the frame gen on a title like this, then you could have a little bit sharper textures and run not quite, but close enough to that 60. But these are the settings that I would probably go with on a 1440p monitor. And our VRAM, our allocated VRAM, and it's good to have a little bit left over because there's other parts in the game, there's other scenes that you might not be quite aware of, and you don't want to get into a much more intensive area than suddenly you're crashing or you're like stuttering really bad, you know. This is how I would probably run it if I was into the higher refresh. This is perfectly fine. I'm on a mouse and keyboard and it feels perfectly snappy and everything's good to go. But if you really want that little edge on the textures, then you know you could just sacrifice your VRAM, not your VRAM. You could sacrifice your FPS because it will, you know, that frame generation will eat up a little bit of that VRAM. So with all that said, I wanted to jump over to a 1080p experience, and I haven't really went through all this quite as much as I have the 1440. Because this is definitely a card that's meant for 1440. So I'm just going to run it at the high setting and see where we're at there. So we're at 85, and that is a good starting point. We do have the ability to come in here and start looking at some stuff. So with everything set to high, it's still yelling at us about this, a few things here. But for the most part, our VRAM is saturated. We're using all of the VRAM that's available to us, for good or for worse. I would probably turn off the frame generation, then maybe go up to balanced and see what that does. You know, that's 71, 70. Okay, so we're at upper 60, and our VRAM is 11.4. So this would be kind of how I would play it. You know, you're comfortably above 60, and in a title like this, that's fine. And you got that balanced DLSS. Let's just see real quick while we're in here, just to put any minds at ease. Let's see what we've got as far as the quality setting goes, what that can do for us. It did drop it down a hair, but we're still right at 60. So you still have to play with it. This game is not the best optimized experience, truthfully. You know, in my previous video, I did blame the card a little bit, and to a point, it is a little bit of the card. You know, prices around here should, in my opinion, be geared more towards 16 gigabytes of VRAM, especially when the competitors are slapping 16 and 20 on everything. But you know, there is a lot to be said for game optimization nowadays that, you know, the developers, I feel like, are so under pressure to get these games out, especially games that are tied to characters like this, probably have a big studio behind them, like, you know, hey, where's that at? And they're just forced to kind of rush it a little bit, and unfortunately that means that they rely on frame generation and DLSS a lot more than they typically should. So with that said, this is you know, probably my last video on this card and this title for a while. I've kind of covered all the bases as much as I know how to cover them, and this video is getting a little long, but there's your settings, folks. I mean, if you want to, you know, play this game, you absolutely can. There's nothing wrong with it at all. You just have to set your expectations accordingly. Me personally, I would be perfectly fine with a little bit lower than 60 with a little bit better visuals. This isn't a super fast game by any means. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you got something out of this, please subscribe. It means the world to me. A subscription, a comment, even if it's not a great comment, that's fine. I'm a big boy, I can take it. Just, you know, throw your thoughts down in there and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And with that, we will wrap this up, and everyone have a fantastic, wonderful evening.